We're back.
But Ebro, in the morning, is not. So after 13 years of being on air for Hot 97, Ebro in the morning with Ebro Darden, Laura Stiles, I can't remember her last name, and Peter Rosenberg, they are now off the air. And there's a lot of controversy. It's all of a sudden, the fans feel like it's sudden, and Hot 97 is now in a space where for a year now they have been sold to a different company, them and WBLS in New York City. And the company is called MediaCo Holdings. The sale was completed in April 2024. And for the past year, things have been changing a lot behind the scenes, but fans have only been privy to a little bit of it. So when I think about it being sudden for fans, what's the reaction that you've noticed?
I've noticed it's one of those things where it kind of seems like if you think about pivotal New York hip hop icons, you have Hot 97, you got the Breakfast Club, and it seems as though fans are kind of reacting to this big change. Like, this is a huge change for the media landscape of New York hip hop, and has been going on for this entire year. We got Flex, Enough, and now this.
I first saw it on Threads, and what I noticed is that people were like, what's happening? Mm-hmm. What is going on? Why first you're here and tomorrow you're not here? But there's been a lot of conversation back and forth, and also there's been some things that kind of set the tone for this situation. And so I think we should hear from Ebro himself about his reaction to the situation, and then kind of react to that. Let's go ahead and press play on that.
If you look around all the major media outlets, look at all the major media outlets, man. All of them. Look at all of them. They all got to fold up because they all trying to renew their deals, their licenses. They all, well, in this particular situation, we'll get into more specifics another time. Bro's a casino owner. You know those 3 licenses that they got here in New York City for the casinos? The guy that owns the shit owns one of the casinos licenses. He got to raise $500,000, bro. $500 million, excuse me. They need my shit talking anti-Netanyahu, anti-government, progressive shit out the way, bro. They need me out the way. They trying to get to these bags that these VCs got, raise some capital. They don't really care, like, especially for like a Hot 97 and a WBLS. They don't give a fuck about hip hop or black music or black community. They don't give a fuck about none of that. They give a fuck about access. They give a fuck about being able to bring their little nerdy friends to the concerts, because that helps them raise money. They've been trying to get to me for years, bro. Years. But, you know.
If folks don't know a lot about Ebro, my understanding is they grew up in the Bay Area. He has a lot of ties to freedom fighters and folks that are in the progressive movement from his upbringing there. And he's brought that same energy to Hot 97. He's brought that same energy to his personality on the air and to his other jobs, Apple Music, so forth, so on. Mm-hmm. He's never not been himself. I don't think that has a lot to do with this situation, more so than the fact that this media company, this new media company, is trying to trim the fat for multiple reasons. They're trying to earn a lot more dollars, and ultimately, Ebro's show is sort of like the sacrificial lamb, and people could have seen this coming, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, how they're better off if they would have noticed that, like, Ebro had been shooting remote. And on top of shooting remote, it's kind of clear what Ebro is talking about is like, well, if they want to raise some money, the owner of this company or the company itself wants to raise some money, why not get rid of the biggest and most expensive people to the platform?
Mm-hmm. The people who are categorically pulling in more ratings than their competitor in the Breakfast Club. And that's even with all of the changes that are going on at Hot 97. I think it's easier for people to make more money if you just cut the cost of, like you said, the hosts and stuff, because then your profits can look a little bit different. You didn't necessarily do something that is bigger for profit earnings. You just trimmed things that you were paying out, so that way your numbers look a little inflated, which is a venture capitalist way of doing that.
Yeah, and Ebro's right to say that they don't care about the culture. They care about the bottom line. They care about their flex on Instagram. Mm-hmm. They care about their ability to say that they were there or responsible for something culturally, but not really of the culture. Hot 97 has also been shuffling hosts for a little bit. The last controversial situation, we never talked about this, was DJ Enough. Mm-hmm. I think the fans are we're also kind of mystified in the same situation. Like, why did this happen? Is there beef between him and Flex? DJ Enough was fired in August. Flex took the time slot that DJ Enough was on. I think this is connected to this company wanting to squeeze less and less, or take less and less investment into the culture.
Yeah.
And focus in on ways that they could reduce their bottom line. And so maybe we should hear from DJ Enough and what he feels about this, and then also react to that piece.
What? I'm gonna keep it a buck, and I never said this before.
Okay.
I should have been left Hot 97. I stayed there way too long. I stayed there past my time. I got too comfortable. Because it was something I was good at, and I enjoyed doing it, like you said. And I remember, when I first got my first gig, I would have did it for free, bro. That's how much I loved hip hop. I would have did it for free.
That's been hip hop's problem from the beginning, though.
That's the problem.
The problem that hip hop has
because we don't treat it as a business.
Right.
We treat it on some emotional shit on our hearts and our sleeves.
Right. Stopping it right there is a great place to stop it, because that helps us segue into what's the real plan here? Well, I don't think it's only these VCs don't care.
No.
In this situation, I think it's they don't care. They don't care about the bottom line. They care more about their bottom line than they do the shows. They want to make sure that they are a part of the culture, but not of the culture, and milk the culture for everything that they want to get out of it.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect opportunity for these folks to now take hip hop and maximize the ownership of hip hop, maximize the business of hip hop in their own way. So I think DJ Enough was on to something.
Oh, yeah. I think he was very much so in the lane of understanding how these shifts happen, how these regime changes happen when people are looking at something as a
commodity.
Well, a commodity, but as a product. They're looking at everything as a product, and figuring out, well, I don't want to sell at this store anymore because it brings me more money to sell over here, to sell to these consumers, and to clean it up to sell to these consumers in a way that, whitewashes or feels more comfortable for majority or a bigger widespread audience. Mm-hmm. The other thing about it also is there's a lot going on, I think, overall with regime changes and people taking over, and just the similar things that we've seen over and over and over again, which is venture capitalists and so on and so forth get these new companies, they make their big changes, they bring in their people, and it stagnates for a little while, and then ultimately we just kind of accept the new status quo.
Yeah, I think that's why DJ Enough is right. we don't really pay attention to the business, but now there's this new awakening that because of the venture capitalists, because of these people that want to take from our culture, we are now fully understanding the hip hop has matured.
Yeah.
In a way, after 40 plus years, to the point to where it's like, no, this is ours. We're gonna take this business. We're gonna own this business. We're gonna make sure that we don't sell that ownership and don't put that ownership off onto people who don't care. And so that gets to my point, is that I think since the beginning of this year, or even since the beginning of this sell to Media Co Holdings, I think Ebro in the Morning has been planning to go independent the whole time. I think they've been in contract negotiations, and which is why they've been working remote. And contract negotiations have deteriorated to the point to where they're like, we're going to walk away and we're going to do this on our own.
Which I think is a lot of radio's new move. I am very but I'm very aware of Dan Le Batard, who used to be with ESPN. He runs the Dan Le Batard show, has been doing it for over 20 years. Did the exact same thing with ESPN, contract negotiations, and they wanted to fire certain people, do different things as they were changing from John Skipper, their original CEO, to a new CEO.
Disney.
And there was a lot of the same things happening as they were like making their transition to YouTube, when they realized we can monetize our audience and keep our audience. It doesn't have to be the millions. It can be 100,000. It can be 200,000. But that will give us the avenues that we need. And similarly, there were the same conversations. So like Ebro and them were giving you the play of what they had going on, what they were feeling about what was going on. And to me, that is the telltale sign of making that shift to independence.
They were on air saying something's coming.
Yeah.
Something's on the way.
Yeah.
Be ready for it. And the fans still weren't ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's why I speculate that they didn't get fired. They left. And they left willingly. And they left with power, because we are in the age of podcast, of your own content, of being your own media company as a brand. And Ebro in the Morning is a brand. Ebro is a brand. Peter Rosenberg is a brand. Laura Stiles is a brand. And so these individuals can make themselves something in the way that you said that really helps hip hop culture stand on its own. And so I feel like this is a situation that is totally better for them to begin with.
Yeah, and I think they'll have way more control, and they still have the relationships with the artists, and I think an ability to get the same things as they were getting at the radio station, because it's not like Ebro loses endorsements or accessibility given his Apple stuff. So you still have access to these artists with something behind you that allows you to get, whether you're speaking in ARs, different record labels, so on and so forth.
And that's the great part, is that the media company doesn't have those relationships. They don't have those relationships in the same way that Ebro does.
No. And it will never be as organic. And I think that's something that we have to always hold on to, especially in the ever-changing eras, whether it's these company mergers, the AI, quote-unquote, takeover, so on and so forth. Being organic, being natural, being authentic, which is what Hot 97 was, whether it's from Summer Jam and everything that we know it for and have leaned to, Funk Flex, so on and so forth. Those things were organic to the actual culture, and those are the things that will continue to rise the culture up.
Would you be pissed if they just went to somewhere like Sirius?
I wouldn't say pissed. I would be a little confused.
Yeah, why make such a big deal if you're just going to go to another big conglomerate?
Yeah, because that just, you could have just waited out your contract. And that would also seem like something that would be an issue with the other people.
I'm assuming that they did wait out the contract, by the way.
That's also my assumption. Like, I do think it was an ending of contract because I don't think anybody would just leave and like disbar a contract. But they have more power, and I think it would be a punch to other independents and people feeling like they can stand on their own too.
Yeah, I think in the age of owning it on your own, this is the perfect opportunity with those that have cachet and those who have audience power to really make use of it. So
what do you guys think? Were you surprised by Hot 97 being taken off the air and all this other stuff? Let us know down in the comments. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Share with a friend who might not know what's going on with Hot 97 or just needs a little hip hop news in their life. We'll see you in the next piece. 1 and 2 and peace.